Hey guys, this week I thought I would talk a bit about my old band Fatal Injection, of which this channel is named after. I figure people probably have some questions about that I can answer with this. And people probably wonder why I named my channel this. People probably just think I'm some weird fuck who wants some weird, crazy, psycho name, but that's not true. I guess I'll just tell it right from the start. When I started to learn guitar, I had a buddy named Jacob who started to learn bass with me, and me and him would just learn a couple songs together and just jam in his room. I think we even videotaped ourselves a couple times because we were that cool. We learned I don't even remember, Can't Stop, and some really easy songs like Seven Nation Army and stuff, and Iron Man, and we just got progressively heavier and harder. Eventually, we decided that we want to start a band, but there was never any opportunities. There was never, well, basically, there's never any drummists, drum players, whatever the proper terminology is. We just couldn't find it. We'd always talk about our ideal drummer and how he would have long hair and he would be metal and he just wouldn't give a shit and blah 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 blah. And we had all these little things that we used to talk about. We used to joke he had to be exactly this tall and blah 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 blah. Anyways, a couple of years go by. We're getting pretty good, me and Jacob, and I go to hang out with my friend Melissa this one random time, and she brings a friend along. Might have been her boyfriend at the time, and this guy's name is Tristan. First time I see him, I don't know, something clicked. I knew that he was like the answer to everything that I'd needed at that point, because I'd heard he played drums and I'd heard other stuff about him. I heard, well, he was pretty good. So we just started talking, and I told him about my buddy Jacob, and I said that we should get together sometime, and eventually we did after a little period of nothing, and we got together with the intentions to play a couple Metallica songs and just see where it went. And one of the first songs we learned was For Whom the Bell Tolls. And the first time we played it, we just played it perfectly, and we were all just had these smiles on our faces, and it was just, we knew that there was something solid there. I don't even know how to describe that feeling. It was perfect. I'd never jammed in a band before, never even anything close to that, other than, like I said, me and Jacob jamming before. Eventually we just started to learn more and more songs, some Judas Priest and a little Pantera and stuff. A lot of Metallica. We must have covered 10 Metallica songs. It was overall, I mean, not at once. Eventually things started moving. People started noticing us and hearing us, because we were pretty loud. You could hear us throughout the park, well, where my friend lives, when we were playing. So, our neighbors would come outside and listen to us play in their yard and stuff like this. And so after we started to get a bit of attention, we knew we had to decide on a name, and we kind of just decided on it all at once. We didn't really there wasn't a day period where we thought of names, or where we really had to spend overnight thinking about it. We just basically sat down in Tristan's room. We all kind of huddled there. We're just okay, we need to think of a really solid name that's gonna stick, something metal but not I don't know, cheesy or cliche. And then we threw a couple names out there. I don't remember what they would have been. Something. It's probably just Decay or something like that. And I know it was Tristan who just he was just sitting there and just kind of said it, Fatal Injection. And as soon as I heard it, it started ringing in my head, and it had this vibe that I couldn't shake it. It was just it's solid. Somewhere between all of this, I know we did a lot of practicing at school, at lunches and stuff, just for kicks. We had a band hall at our elementary school where a drum was set up, and I guess we brought, I think I brought my amp there a couple times just so we could get some quality sound, because their equipment sucked balls, especially their guitars. But we would get quite a bit of attention. We'd be playing loud, we'd be playing good, and people would start kind of piling in, and it turned into little gigs on their own. But eventually, the band teacher started kicking us out and saying we couldn't play there anymore because kids were getting too rowdy, apparently, or swearing in her band hall and breaking equipment or something, which I never really witnessed. I didn't think people were going too crazy. Maybe the odd few kids, but so yeah, that kind of ended. But what really pissed me off was we'd be playing like what For Whom the Bell Tolls and like Walk and shit by Pantera, and then she would let another band play there that was composed of all the kids that were in the school band, and they'd be playing the same songs as us, same basic stuff, but they were totally allowed to play and we weren't. That was just not gonna happen. And I don't know, that bugs me to this day. I still don't like that lady because it was just brutal. I mean, just because we were, I guess, better or got more attention, we weren't allowed to play, and because they were band kids that they had permission, that always bugged me. Always has. Always kind of will. Eventually, we got the notice of enough people that we figured we would want to try and put on a gig, and it wasn't really our idea at first. We knew that we wanted to have a gig, but we couldn't put it on ourselves. Our drummer's mom happened to work at a local youth center around the area, along with one of her friends named Dan, and they decided that they'd want to put on a little show, just us. As many people come down as they want. I think it was like somewhere between $2 and $5. Like, it was pretty cheap. They sold drinks and stuff, and we crammed into this little hall at this place called the Yak. And it was really fantastic. We didn't even have a singer at the time. It was just bass guitar and drums, but we told people that they could fill in for that if they wanted to. We had the guy Dan who put on the show. He sung a few songs. We played quite a few songs with no singer, but you know what? For having no singer, I think it was a pretty good gig. People were really into it and yelling and screaming, and there must have been like somewhere between 70 and 50 people there. Like, there was a lot of people, a lot more than I expected. I know that because we're just this little local band. So yeah, we might have already had a Facebook group at that point, but I don't know. I know we made one. We posted a couple videos on there, and things progressed and progressed. We eventually found a singer named Curtis, who was a good friend of Tristan's from before, but he wasn't really like available. Let's put it that way. He was really busy with baseball and things like this. So by the time our next gig rolled around, we still hadn't even practiced with him, but he was going to sing for us anyway. So we kind of just winged that gig. But it also went really well. More I think about the same or a little bit less people were there. It was at the same place, actually, too. We did that gig. And then I think after that, we got no... I think it must have been Dan. Dan must have organized it. We got an interview with the newspaper, the Goldstream Gazette around here. And so we sat down with the lady and told her our story and stuff, and got our picture and a little article in the paper. Oh yeah, also, when we did our first gig, our very, very first gig, we also got in the paper. The local paper in the area where Tristan lived at the time. So we were in the paper twice for the band, but the second time was a way bigger deal because it was a bigger paper. It was more broad, if that makes sense. So yeah, that progressed. We had our gigs. We had a good, solid fan base on Facebook, which felt like a really big deal, even though it wasn't. We probably had like 200 or something, 250 fans on Facebook at this point. And like, for us, that was huge. Like, we didn't know that many people cared or knew about us. And when we got the newspaper thing, I think it went up again somewhere to the 300s, mid 300s. We got offered to do a Battle of the Bands at an elementary school in Belmont Park where we were jamming, versus another band who was doing a similar thing to us. They might have started before, I don't really know. They were called Riot Shield, or they are still together. We had it set up so we played on the left side of the gym, and they played on the right, or it might have been vice versa. Doesn't really matter. So we'd play a song, they'd cheer, blah blah blah. They'd play a song, we'd play a song, they'd play a song, and then I think they did the voting by amount of cheers or something. So they would be like, "Oh, okay, whoever votes for Fatal Injection, yell now, and whoever votes for Riot Shield, yell now." And they were doing originals. I think they did a couple originals and covers, and we only had covers at this point. Down anyway. And I think even to that gig, we still hadn't even practiced with our singer. It was just all winged. The only times we practiced with our singer were at gigs, which made sense because we didn't even have like vocal or any sort of PA or anything. We would have been running vocals through like a small guitar amp, and he would have probably strained his voice and quit right then and there. So we had that Battle of the Bands, which we happened to win. We won like a gift card for Milestones or something worth like $100, so we went out for dinner. That was cool. And then I think 2 days later we had another gig, which was outside. We had it set up in the parking lot, and that gig was really hard to play. Like, it was cold and windy, so it was, I don't know, it was hard to do. And by the end of it, a lot of people got kicked out or left. So if there was like 50 or something, 70 people there at the start, there was way less than that. There was 50 to 40. At the end of it, there was only like 15 people crowded around because they had a lot tighter of rules and security and stuff at this gig, and for some reason, because it was outside. So if you left, you weren't allowed to come back, and if you brought a backpack, you had to leave. I don't even know. If you moshed, you had to leave, but that was standard for all the other gigs before.